After the dare, my boss became my husband. I lost a round of truth or dare at a class reunion. My classmate pointed to my phone, call the person at the top of your WeChat list and say, "Honey, I miss you." I braced myself and dialed, delivering the mortifying line. To my surprise, after 3 seconds of silence, a deep, clear voice replied, I miss you too." My classmates were buzzing with gossip, demanding to know when I'd secretly gotten married. I wanted to cry. The person on the other end was my immediate superior, Ethan Joe, known throughout the company as a workaholic extraordinaire. Aside from work-related communication, we had virtually no private interaction. After that call, I assumed the incident would be swallowed up by our busy schedules, as usual. After all, who is Ethan Joe? Company rumors had it that he was an AI that had achieved sentience, interested in nothing but work. But at 9 o'clock the next morning, my doorbell rang. Ethan Joe, wearing casual clothes yet still radiating an imposing aura, stood at the door. He held a bag of breakfast, his tone as bland as if commenting on the weather. "You said you missed me last night. I came to check on you." My parents poked their heads out from the kitchen, their eyes lighting up. The next half hour was the most surreal experience of my life. Ethan Joe, with astonishing speed, won over my parents. From discussing my dad's go hobby to my mom's health regimen, he even knew the name of our dog. "Ariel, you never told us you had a boyfriend," my mom playfully chastised me, then turned to Ethan, smiling radiantly. "Mr. Joe, please stay for lunch. I'll make my famous sweet and sour pork ribs your favorite." How did he know my mom's signature dish was sweet and sour pork ribs? I pulled him aside onto the balcony, lowering my voice. "Mr. Joe, last night was a dare. Please don't take it seriously." Ethan Joe turned around. The morning sunlight fell on his profile, and in those eyes, usually so calm and emotionless, I thought I saw a hint of amusement. "I know. Then why are you here?" "My mother was beside me yesterday and heard the call." He paused. "She has a heart condition and has always worried about me dying alone." "So," I understood, "you need a temporary girlfriend to appease your family?" "A contractual marriage," Ethan Joe said, dropping a bombshell. "For a term of 6 months. We won't interfere with each other's private lives during this period. Afterward, you will receive a substantial compensation, plus guaranteed promotion for the next 3 years." My eyes widened. Wasn't this plot a little too much like a novel? "Why me?" I asked cautiously. "There are plenty of prettier, more socially adept girls at the company." Ethan Joe was silent for a moment, then pulled up a photo on his phone, a high school graduation picture. He pointed to me in the corner, with my ponytail and toothy grin, and then to the expressionless boy in the back row. "We went to the same school. I was 2 grades ahead," he said. "You fell on the track once, I helped you up, and you gave me a piece of candy and said, 'Senior, don't always look so serious. Try to smile.'" Memories flooded back. In my final year of high school, I had indeed fallen on the track and given a piece of fruit candy to a very serious-looking senior. But that senior, that was you. I couldn't believe it. Besides a faint similarity in the eyes, the person in the photo and the man before me were vastly different in demeanor. "I had an accident in college, and my personality changed a bit," Ethan Joe said lightly. "I chose you because I know you well enough, and you are clear-headed enough not to mistake the agreement for reality." He was right. I was a realist. I didn't believe in Cinderella fairy tales. But when he named the specific amount of the compensation, I couldn't help but be tempted. It was enough to pay off the rest of my mortgage and send my parents on a trip. What do I need to do? I asked. Cooperate in pretending for my family, have dinner together at least once a week, and attend important holidays together. Ethan Joe handed me a pre-drafted agreement. The rest of the time, you are completely free. I read the terms carefully. They were surprisingly generous and clearly favored my interests. Aren't you afraid I'll decide to stay after 6 months? I joked. Ethan Joe looked at me and suddenly smiled faintly. You won't. He was right. I signed the agreement. The subsequent developments unfolded in fast forward. Ethan Joe was incredibly efficient. He arranged for our families to meet the next day. A week later, we quietly registered our marriage, and a month later, we moved into an apartment he owned, 2 bedrooms, no interference. Naturally, my colleagues noticed. Ethan Joe neither deliberately concealed it nor made a big show of it. He just frankly admitted when asked, we got married. Gossip exploded in the company break room. Some called me manipulative, others called Ethan Joe blind. Only my friend Linda quietly asked me, Ariel, are you serious? I looked at the swirling coffee in my cup and answered honestly, a marriage of convenience. Mutual benefit. Linda hesitated, then sighed. The way Mr. Joe looks at you, it doesn't seem like acting. I dismissed it as a joke. The way Ethan Joe looked at me? No different than how he looked at his annual reports. Until that rainy night. I worked until 10. When I went downstairs, I saw Ethan Joe's car parked outside the company. He walked over, holding an umbrella, one of his shoulders already soaked. It was on my way, he explained. But I knew his home and the direction of the office were opposite. In the car, I casually mentioned that my favorite dessert place from high school, the one near the back gate with the amazing mango pancakes, had closed years ago. Ethan Joe didn't say anything. The next evening, there was a plate of mango pancakes on the dinner table, tasting astonishingly similar to the original. How did you? I was surprised. I happen to still have the contact information for the store owner, Ethan Joe said, lowering his head to cut his steak, his earlobes slightly pink. I began to notice more details. He remembered I didn't eat cilantro. He would quietly brew brown sugar water during my period, and books I casually mentioned would appear on the living room coffee table. During one family dinner, my mom brought up the time I almost got lost as a child. Ethan Joe suddenly spoke up. It was in Central Park, right? When you were 5, wearing a yellow dress. Everyone, including me, was stunned. Mom, did you tell him? I whispered. My mom shook her head. No. Ethan Joe looked composed. I might have misremembered. But I knew he hadn't. That photo of me at 5 in Central Park was tucked away in our old family album, a detail even I had forgotten. A ridiculous thought surfaced. Could this person actually like me? But I quickly dismissed it. Who is Ethan Joe? A graduate of a top school, a young talent, the company's market value increasing year after year. And me? Besides being reasonably attractive and a diligent worker, what was so special? It wasn't until the class reunion was held again. Several drinks in, the class president who proposed the dare that night tipsily patted my shoulder. Ariel, that phone call back then, it wasn't a random choice. I froze. What do you mean? Senior Joe asked me to set it up. The class president hiccuped. He said he'd had a crush on you for many years, but was too afraid to say anything. The dare was a perfect opportunity for him. The room fell silent. I rushed out of the private room and dialed Ethan Joe's number at the end of the hallway. Is what the class president said true? My voice was trembling. Silence stretched on the other end, so long that I thought he wouldn't answer. it is. Ethan Joe's voice was very soft. I liked you in high school. I wanted to confess in college, but I was in a car accident and was in a coma for 3 months. When I woke up, I heard you had gone to study out of town and had a boyfriend. He paused. Later, when I saw your resume at the recruitment fair, I almost couldn't believe it. I hired you, but I didn't know how to approach you. Until that dare. I'm sorry, I took advantage of your situation. I leaned against the wall and slowly slid to the floor. The contractual marriage was also planned? Yes. But those terms I drafted are all real. If you genuinely want to leave after 6 months, His voice was hoarse. I will respect your decision. I thought back over the past 6 months, the coincidental rides, the accidentally remembered preferences, the chance, care, and concern. It turned out that there really were people like this, clumsy, cautious, wrapping deep affection in logic, thinking their pretense was flawless. Ethan Joe, I said. Yes. The owner of that mango pancake shop immigrated last year. How did you contact him? A sharp intake of breath came over the phone. I continued, also, when did you see the photo in my old family album? My parents said that the first time you came to our house, you knew exactly which shelf the album was on. After a long silence, Ethan Joe whispered, you know. I know. I stood up. So, I'm giving you 2 choices. First, we continue with the agreement, and we divorce in 6 months. You pay the compensation. Second, I took a deep breath. Drive here and pick me up now. We'll start over. Not an agreement, but for real. The call was disconnected. 15 minutes later, Ethan Joe's car screeched to a halt outside the restaurant. He ran out, his hair messy, his tie askew, completely lacking his usual composure. I choose to, he panted, his eyes astonishingly bright. Ariel, I choose to. I walked up and straightened his tie for him. No agreement this time, no compensation. You might be losing out. Ethan Joe held my hand, his voice gentle and firm, no loss. From the moment you gave me that candy in high school, this has been the most profitable investment of my life. Later, I discovered a box hidden in a secret compartment in his study. Inside were a hair clip I lost in high school, an old work badge from a university event, and clippings of every article I had ever published in the company's internal magazine over the years. There was a note in the box, written in youthful handwriting, clearly years ago. I saw her again today. Still too afraid to speak. But it's okay, I can wait. Wait until we both grow up, until the day I can stand before her openly and honestly. The date was the day of our high school graduation ceremony. It turned out that someone really had held on to an unknown crush for so many years. I picked up my phone and sent a message to the person at the top of my WeChat list. Honey, I miss you today too. This time, it wasn't a game.